What's going on, guys? This is Britter, and I'm back with the Odin Project. I know some of you guys have been waiting on this for a while, had some family health issues, and I decided to go back to school, which I kind of wish I would have just kept going with this YouTube channel instead, but that's beside the point. But we're 62% complete, and we are going to be starting the section on JavaScript today. So we're going to do Fundamentals Part 1. So let's dive right into JavaScript. This section contains a general overview of topics that you will learn in this lesson. How do you declare a variable? What are 3 different ways to declare a variable? Which one should you use? When? What are the rules for naming variables? What are operators, operands, and operations? What is a concatenation, and what happens when you add numbers and strings together? What are the different types of operators in JavaScript? What is the difference between 2 equal signs and 3? What are operator precedence values? What are the increment decrement operators? What is the difference between prefixing and postfixing them? What are assignment operators? And what is the unary plus operator? Whoosh, that's a lot. Alright, so how to run JavaScript code. All JavaScript we will be writing, and the majority of the Foundations course, will be run via the browser. Later lessons in Foundations and the Node.js path will show you how to run JavaScript outside of the browser environment. Outside of these lessons, for now you should always default to running your JavaScript in the browser unless otherwise specified. Otherwise, you may run into unexpected errors. The simplest way to get started is to simply create an HTML file with your JavaScript code inside of it. Type the basic HTML skeleton into a file on your computer somewhere. So we're going to kind of bring this window over here and open up our Visual Studio Code. I don't know if you guys noticed, I also switched versions of Linux. So let's just do a new file. I think I wanted to do a new file. There we go. So we're going to just do index.html. And we're going to save that here in the Odin project. Create file. I'll need to put that somewhere else eventually, but for now, let's do this. Doc type HTML, HTML. This should be familiar for you guys. We're going to put head, meta, charset, UTF -8. Close that, do title, page title, and then we're going to go down and add the body, script, your Java script goes here. We're going to do console.log hello world. And just based on what I think I know, I think this is just going to print hello world. So we got to close our script. And save. Now let's go to that file. You guys bear with me. I gotta get back into the swing of things here. Alright, let's go to the file. Open this in a browser. Well, it didn't do anything. says we can use let me make sure we save that. Save. Open with Google Chrome. And it's not saying anything. Save and open the file. You can use and then open this browser's console by right-clicking on the blank web page and selecting inspect. So it is supposed to be blank. And I was wrong. It does not print hello world, I guess. Let's take this over here. Alright, select inspect or inspect element. In the developer tools pane, find and select the console tab. Okay. Where you should see the output of our console.log statement. And there it is, guys. Hello world. Console.log is the command to print something to the developer console in your browser. You can use this to print the results from any of the following articles and exercises to the console. We encourage you to code along with all of the examples in this and future lessons. Another way to include JavaScript in a web page is through an external script. This is very similar to linking an external CSS doc to your website. JavaScript files have the extension .js similar to .css for style sheets. External JavaScript files are used for more complex scripts. You can think of variables as simply storage containers for data in your code. Until recently, there was only one way to create a variable in JavaScript, the var statement. But in the newest JavaScript versions, we have two more ways, let and const. This variable tutorial will explain everything you need to know. Be sure to do the tasks at the end. Information won't stick without practice. So let's go ahead and do this tutorial here. Let's see how long this is. Okay. Most of the time, a JavaScript application needs to work with information. Here are two examples. An online shop, the information might include goods being sold and a shopping cart. A chat application, the information might include users, messages, and more, and much more. Variables are used to store this information. A variable is a named storage for data. We can use variables to store goodies, visitors, and other data. To create a variable in JavaScript, use the let keyword. The statement below creates, in other words, declares a variable with the name message. Let message. Now we can put some data into it by using the assignment operator equals. Let message equals hello. Store the string hello in the variable named message. The string is now saved into the memory area associated with the variable. We can access it using the variable name. Let message equals hello. Alert message shows the variable content. To be concise, we can combine the variable declaration and assignment into a single line. Let message equal hello, define the variable and assign the value, and alert, there's the message. We can also declare multiple variables in one line. Let user equals John, age equals 25, message equals hello. That might seem shorter, but we don't recommend it. For the sake of better readability, please use a single line per variable. The multiple variant is a bit longer, but easier to read. Let user John, let age 25, let message hello. And that does make sense. Some people also define multiple variables in this multi-line style. Let user John, age, or even in this comma first style. Okay? Technically, all these variants do the same thing, so it's a matter of personal taste and aesthetics. Var instead of let. In older scripts, you may also find another keyword, var, instead of let. Var message equals hello. The var keyword is almost the same as let. It also declares a variable, but in a slightly different, old school way. There are subtle differences between let and var, but they do not matter for us yet. We'll cover them in detail in the chapter, The Old Var. A real-life analogy. We can easily grasp the concept of a variable if we imagine it as a box for data, with a uniquely named sticker on it. For instance, the variable message can be imagined as a box labeled message with the value hello in it. We can put any value in the box. We can also arrange it as many times as we want. When the value is changed, the old data is removed from the variable. We can also declare two variables and copy data from one into another. Let hello, hello world, let message, copy hello world from hello into message. Message equals hello. Now two variables hold the same data. Declaring twice triggers an error. A variable should be declared only once. A repeated declaration of the same variable is an error. Okay. Let message equal this. Repeated let leads to an error. So they did let hello. They did let message twice with different options. It's interesting to note that there exist so-called pure functional programming languages such as Haskell that forbid changing variable values. In such languages, once the value is stored in the box, it's there forever. If we need to store something else, the language forces us to create a new box, declare a new variable. We can't reuse the old one. Though it may seem a little odd at first sight, these languages are quite capable of serious development. More than that, there are areas like parallel computations where this limitation confers certain benefits. Variable naming. There are two limitations on variable names in JavaScript. The name must contain only letters, digits, or the symbols, the $sign and underscore. The first character must not be a digit. Examples of valid names. Okay, when the name contains multiple words, camel case is commonly used. That is, words go one after another, each word except first, starting with a capital letter. Example, my very long name. And the only things that are capitalized is very long a name. What's interesting, the $sign and underscore can also be used in names. They are regular symbols just like letters without any special meaning. These names are valid. Let one declare a name. Okay, examples of incorrect variable names, because that starts with a digit, and this has a hyphen. Variables named apple and apple are two different variables. Non-Latin letters are allowed, but not recommended. It is possible to use any language, including Cyrillic letters, Chinese logograms, and so on, like this. Technically, there is no error here. Such names are allowed, but there is an international convention to use English in variable names. Even if we're writing a small script, it may have a long life ahead. People from other countries may need to read it sometime. Reserved names. There is a list of reserved words which cannot be used as variable names because they are used by the language itself. For example, let, class, return, and function are reserved. The code below gives a syntax error. An assignment without use strict. Normally we need to define a variable before using it, but in the old times it was technically possible to create a variable by mere assignment of the value without using let. This still works now if we don't put use strict in our scripts to maintain compatibility with old scripts. This is a bad practice and will cause an error in strict mode. Constants. To declare a constant, unchanging variable, use const instead of let. Const, my birthday. Variables declared using const are called constants. They cannot be reassigned. An attempt to do so would cause an error. When a programmer is sure that a variable will never change, they can declare it with const to guarantee and clearly communicate that fact to everyone. Uppercase constants. There is a widespread practice to use constants as aliases for difficult to remember values that are known prior to execution. Such constants are named using capital letters and underscores. For instance, let's make constants for colors in so-called web hexadecimal format. Okay. Color orange is much easier to remember than number F7F00. When reading the code, color orange is much more meaningful. When should we use capitals for a constant and when should we name it normally? Let's make that clear. Being a constant just means that a variable's value never changes, but there are constants that are known prior to execution, like a hexadecimal value for red, and there are constants that are calculated in runtime during the execution but do not change after their initial assignment. For instance, constant page load time, time taken by a web page to load. The value of page load time is not known prior to the page load, so it's named normally, but it's still a constant because it doesn't change after assignment. In other words, capital named constants are only used as aliases for hard-coded values. Name things right. Talking about variables, there's one more extremely important thing. A variable name should have a clean, obvious meaning, describing the data that it stores. Variable naming is one of the most important and complex skills in programming. A quick glance at variable names can reveal which code was written by a beginner versus an experienced developer. In a real project, most of the time is spent modifying and extending an existing code base rather than writing something completely separate from scratch. When we return to some code after doing something else for a while, it's much easier to find information that is well labeled, or in other words, when the variables have good names. Please spend time thinking about the right name for a variable before declaring it. Doing so will repay you handsomely. Some good to follow rules are: use human readable names like username or shopping cart. Stay away from abbreviations or short names like ABC unless you really know what you're doing. Make names maximally descriptive and concise. Examples of bad names are data and value. Such names say nothing. It's only okay to use them if the context of the code makes it exceptionally obvious which data or value the variable is referencing. Agree on terms within your team and in your own mind. If a site visitor is called a user, then we should name related variables current user or new user instead of current visitor or new man in town. Sounds simple. Indeed it is, but creating descriptive and concise variable names in practice is not. Go for it. Reuse or create. And the last note, there are some lazy programmers who, instead of declaring new variables, tend to reuse existing ones. As a result, their variables are like boxes into which people throw different things without changing their stickers. What's inside the box now? Who knows? We need to come closer and check. Such programmers save a little bit on variable declaration but lose 10 times more on debugging. An extra variable is good, not evil. Modern JavaScript minifiers and browsers optimize code well enough so it won't create performance issues. Using different variables for different values can even help the engine optimize your code. Summary: we can declare variables to store data by using the var, let, or const keywords. Let is a modern variable declaration. Var is an old school variable declaration. Normally we don't use it at all, but we'll cover subtle differences from let in the chapter of the old var just in case you need them. Const is like let, but the value of the variable can't be changed. Variables should be named in a way that allows us to easily understand what's inside them. Declare two variables, admin and name. How do we do this here? So it's not really like a box. So let admin name, let name equal John and constant equal admin. Let's see. Let admin name can declare two variables at once. Name equals John, admin equals name. Alert admin. Okay. I probably wouldn't have gotten that on my own, but these don't really have like a place to try it and fail. So we're just going to look over them together. Create a variable with the name of our planet. How would you name such a variable? Maybe planet? Create a variable to store the name of a current visitor to a website. How would you name that variable? Current visitor? The variable for our planet. Our planet name. That's better than just planet. We could use a shorter name, but it might not be too obvious what planet it refers to. It's nice to be more verbose, at least until the variable is not too long. Okay? Let current username equal John. Again, we could shorten that to username if we know for sure that the user is current. Modern editors and autocomplete make long variable names easy to write. Don't save on them. A name with 3 words in it is fine. And if your editor does not have a proper autocompletion, get a new one. Okay. Makes sense. Kant's birthday. Have we... Here we have a constant birthday for the date and also the age constant. The age is calculated from birthday using some code, which means a function call that we didn't explain yet. We will soon. But the details don't matter here. The point is that age is calculated somehow based on birthday. Would it be right to use the uppercase for birthday, for age, or even for both? I think it would be for birthday, but not age, because the age is going to change based on the birthday. It's not going to be the same. We generally use uppercase for constants that are hard-coded, or in other words, when the value is known prior to execution and directly written into the code. In this code, birthday is exactly that, so we could use uppercase for it. In contrast, age is valued in runtime. Today we have one age, a year after we'll have another. It is a constant in the sense that it does not change through the code execution, but it is a bit less of a constant than birthday. It is calculated, so we should keep the lowercase for it. Yeah! I would have got that one right. Alright, we can go ahead and close this now. Alright, the above tutorial mentioned this, but it's important enough to note, let and const are both relatively new ways to declare variables in JavaScript. In many tutorials and code across the internet, you're likely to encounter var statements. Don't let it bother you. There's nothing inherently wrong with var, and in most cases var and let behave the same way. But sometimes the behavior of var is not what you would expect. Just stick to let and const for now. Numbers. Numbers are the building blocks of programming logic. In fact, it's hard to think of any useful programming task that doesn't involve at least a little basic math. So knowing how numbers work is obviously quite important. Luckily, it's also fairly straightforward. This W3 Schools lesson, followed by this one, are good introductions to what you can accomplish with numbers in JavaScript. This MDN article covers the same info from a slightly different point of view, while also teaching you how to apply some basic math in JavaScript. There's much more that you can do with numbers, but this is all you need at the moment. Read through and code along with this article about operators in JavaScript. Don't forget to do the tasks at the bottom of the page. It will give you a pretty good idea of what you can accomplish with numbers, among other things. So we're running on about 23 minutes, so I'm going to wait until next episode. Next episode, we're going to go through this stuff here in numbers, and then we're going to work on the assignment if there's time for both. But I thank you guys for hanging out, and I will see you on the next one. Goodbye.